What is going on, guys? My name is Ryan. Welcome to the channel Reality by Design. Let's talk about it. This is the channel where we get into all things manifesting and reality creation. Some of you got here because you're trying to get SP back. Some of you are here because you're trying to get money, the career, the job of your dreams. Some of you want the house, the car. Some of you just want a different life. So let's get into it. Why watch me? There's 6 million coaches. Well, I've done it all without using a platform to get it. So that's got to count for something. House of my dreams, cars, bikes, job of my dreams, freedom, woman of my dreams, manifested her back multiple times. I'll get into that story at some point. But yeah, I've been manifesting for about, let me say this, you're always manifesting. I've been consciously manifesting for about 15 years. And started out typical way, got into Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. More of a law of attraction based manifesting, but that led me to Joseph Murphy, Power of the Subconscious Mind. Then I got into Joe Dispenza. Still love Joe. I still love all of them. The thing is, it's kind of like religion, right? Everyone is feeling the same thing, pointing you to the same thing. And so they have different words and maybe different techniques about going about it. But ultimately, the truth is, it's all about who you're being. You don't get what you want, you get who you are. I know everyone's heard that. So, yeah, I progressed, got into Neville Goddard, the Kabbalion, Parallel Universe itself. There's a million books I've read. I've read hundreds of books, certified coach, consultant, been in real estate investor. Started out with a degree in finance accounting, a degree in business administration. So kind of done a little everything. But the key that I recognize is when I look back at my life, it was always who I was being at the time. We can read books. Like I said, I've read hundreds of books. I ordered 5 this week. And I'm not saying it to brag or anything. I'm saying it. We take in all this knowledge, but if it doesn't change who you are, what's the point? And it was funny because I always heard it was like analysis paralysis, where you read all these self-help books, and instead of implementing them and applying them to your life, it's almost like the initial goal was to change your life. And we start reading, and now the goal shifts from changing your life to reading the books. And you almost get the same hit or the same high or the same mental effect from reading the books. And you feel gratitude, you feel accomplished just by reading the book. And I found myself doing that, where it was, I read all these books, but it's like, am I applying them? And so it's the same thing here. If you want to manifest, number one, you have to have discipline. Have to have discipline. No one can do it but you. You are the operant power in your reality. You can see from my sign above, the inner world, your inner world, reflects your outer world. There are 8 billion people. There are 8 billion realities that they experience. After discipline, persistence is key. Consistency is key. And we'll get into all that. But I would say those are the 3 top determining factors on whether or not you are going to manifest your desired reality, whatever it may be. I know I've been on these YouTube pages, influencers, content creators for probably, 8 years. And I figure I could add a little bit to it because I've lived it in every aspect, not just creating something, creating content to create it, but actually walking it out. So I know what it feels like when a influencer or content creator tells you this is it, but it's very difficult or challenging to apply because of this, or I've tried this, but I keep going back. So I think it'll be helpful with someone who's gone through it. 8-year journey, manifesting the SP, multiple times, 5 or 6 times. Creating the lifestyle of my dreams, the job, the career of my dreams. Really sitting in it and learning, and experientially, feeling what it is to go through it. Having the going through the dark night of the soul, having a spiritual awakening, a manifestation awakening. There's kind of a lot in it, but I figured I'd start out by giving you guys a little bit of who I am and why my content will hopefully be helpful for you. But I say hopefully, I'm imagining it to be, so it will. But so yeah, the first thing I mentioned was discipline. Why discipline? Discipline is the biggest factor, because I could coach you today. I can't make you tomorrow not entertain the thoughts that come through and have you not identify with it. I can't make you allow those thoughts to enter your mind and allow them to pass through as quickly as they entered. I can't make you imagine something. So the discipline is only in the fact that you are the operant power, you are the creator. So you have to choose who you're being at all times. Second one, persistence. Persistence is crucial because, yeah, I found for me, obviously it took me 8 years. So I don't quit. I don't know about everybody else, but I get what I want. And that brings up the fifth thing that I've talked about. You can get what you want. That used to frustrate me so bad. So many content creators say, you can't have what you want. You can have what you want if what you want aligns with who you're being. That's the crucial part. So when I said in the beginning, you don't get what you want, you get who you are, that's the kind of nomenclature of this arena or this community. But you can't have what you want. And the next thing up is they talk about detachment. Well, what is detachment? Because am I supposed to detach from my desire? No, I think that, I was reading the other day in a book about how in the Buddhist tradition, they talk about desire is the root of all suffering. But that's actually a mistranslation. You do get what you desire, but there's a word they use that is tanha, which actually means thirst. So desire is not the root of all suffering. I think desire is the root of all creation. Tanha, which is thirsting after your desire, is the root of all suffering, which makes perfect sense. Because what is thirsting? Whenever you thirst after something, you're needing it, you're desperate, you're chasing it, which means you are not it. The desire in its root form, in its creative form, is really pointing you to who you desire to be. And let's put that into example, or how it's applicable into everyday life. So when you're looking at your life and a desire comes up, we say, oh, we want this thing, or we desire to experience this. Why is that? Well, it's because we give it meaning. What does it mean to us? How do we feel? Who will we be in that moment or in that instance? When I think of I'd love to go to. I really enjoy going to Colorado and going skiing, snowboarding. Um, why do I love it so much? It's the feeling. It's the version of me I am there, right? It's it's my getaway. It's my peaceful place, and it's just like it's when I associate myself to being in Colorado, snowboarding or skiing. It's bliss. It's carefree. It's happiness. So I envision a particular version of myself. That version of myself is what I ultimately desire. The outside experience, the outside objects, the outside person is just a symbol of who we're being. So, do I desire that place? I've done it many times. Probably not. If I could have that, if I could associate that with here, then it would be the same thing. It's really who I'm being and that feeling I get. So, ultimately, our desire is to point us to who we want to be or who we ultimately are. If you let that sink in for just a minute, who we ultimately are, you already are that. The only reason you can't see it is your refusal to believe it, as Neville said. So let's break that down. I know the biggest topic here, and especially for me, I mean, manifesting money, easy. Manifesting houses, easy. Manifesting cars, trips, easy. SP, not so easy for me. And that was an assumption I had. So obviously that was the reality that was reflected for me. But I always thought I had to change her or the outside effect or the outside experience. And so hence the reason it was so many times is because I was very good when she's not here at going within and imagining and creating. But as soon as I got it, it was back to the 3D. Well, the 3D showed me this. The 3D showed me that. You know what? I want this. I deserve this. Forget all the time I spent consciously manifesting and trying to create. Now I want this to change and I want that to change. I wanted it. But what was it coming from? Was it coming from a wound? Or was it coming from who I authentically was? From my I am, my soul. And so I found that when I look back, there were so many things within me all being driven by the ego. And so I'm going to get into a lot of terms and concepts here, but hopefully I will be able to articulate it and explain it in a way that's understandable. But the ego is, for lack of a better word, the our 3D avatar. So we have our 3D avatar. Our 3D avatar is this. Our egoic mind is the mind that is driven by the senses, is driven by logic. It likes to analyze everything, judge everything. Whenever the ego is involved, we have to protect, defend, argue in order to keep that thing or that feeling. So that's how you can always tell if the ego is involved. If there's fear involved, ego. If there's lack or scarcity involved, ego. If there's I need because this fulfills me, or there's anything outside of me that has power over me, ego. How do we know when it's the soul? Because we experience the thing as us. There is no judgment, there is no need, there is no conditioning for it to show up in a particular way. That's the soul. And so what this whole journey has kind of led me to is this, as far as I'll say on the SP side, there's this amazing gratification in the actual relationship or what it is based on just the experience, not having to be a particular way. And sure, it took me 8 years to get there, but hopefully, and I believe it will be much easier for you and sooner for you, because There's others out there sharing the knowledge, so you don't have to go through it. So you can kind of take what's being said and apply it to your life. I always thought, I think my biggest hurdle was getting over the fact that something outside of me was going to provide a feeling, was going to give me something that I wasn't. And I think majority of relationships are based off this. So we get into a relationship, and this person makes us feel a specific way, and now we associate that feeling with the person. And that is the first hurdle we have to overcome. It is not the person. It is not the relationship. It is not the experience. All of that was really a symbol of who we were being in that moment. But we fail to recognize that, partially because we are unconscious and we're unaware. And so we're going through it. And now we need that to sustain this feeling, to sustain what we have. And we don't want to go back to not having it. Not recognizing that it's really, truly us that is giving us that feeling. You are the spice of life. You are what colors life. You are the magic. You are the paintbrush. And once you recognize that, every situation can be what you thought gave you all this joy and happiness. Now, on this last time, especially manifesting SP, I found that being in flow, which is really an extended moment of being present, was really helpful because it quieted the mind chatter. Whenever we can quiet the mind chatter, we don't have these ebbs and flows. We don't have this hot and cold, this up and down roller coaster where, okay, I'm in it. I got it. It's mine. It's who I am. And then the next moment, oh no, the 3D showed me this. It's not this way. Fuck this. I'm done. I'm done with this. And that's kind of what I experienced with, previously going through this, was all of this up and downs, all of this in and out, hot and cold. I'm all in, I'm all out. I'm half in, I'm half out. I think flow eliminates all that, because what flow truly is being present, grounding yourself, being in the moment without conditioning anything. Everything just is. It's not good or bad. It's not wrong or right. It just is in that moment. And the more you are able to get into that, mood, or to get into that feeling, then you're able to eliminate all of the thoughts, the mind chatter that comes in and comes at you. And really all that is the ego, just trying to define, analyze, is this safe, is this not? And there's so many things. It's hard in one video to know, I guess, or to be able to explain all the topics. So we'll get into it every week. But for the sake of this video, I just wanted to kind of explain what I'm about and what this channel is about, and hopefully get you as a subscriber. And weekly we can get into the different concepts, the different topics of manifesting. And so for this week, it's mainly about who I am, what I've experienced, the knowledge I've garnered, the difficulties I've gone through, to learn this, and hopefully be able to share that with you, and so you can apply it to your life and cut it in a 20th of the time. So we got into the first two, which is persistence and determination. Once you have those two, then what you need to do is just make sure you're applying them. How do you apply it? The number one way to apply it is through awareness. For me, becoming aware allows me to address or release the things, the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions that no longer serve me. I didn't understand this before. I manifested because the law of being is a law, so it always applies. You'll see so many people especially in this community, talk about, they manifest without even knowing about this. They have friends. I have friends who manifest beautifully. And it's like they didn't even know about it. Well, how can they manifest? Well, they can manifest because it's a law. Whether you know about it or not, it's like the law of gravity. You can have no idea about the law of gravity and go jump off a cliff. You're going to splat at the bottom. It is what it is. So knowledge is always beneficial because now you can make adjustments. We can change, we can add on, we can take away. So awareness. What is awareness? Awareness is where now we have knowledge of something we're doing that we weren't aware or didn't have knowledge of doing it before. Once we have awareness, the more you become aware, now you're becoming conscious. So the programming that you've had your whole life, the previous experiences, the trauma we've experienced is not running the show. We can now step in and say, wait a minute, I don't want this program to run. I want to change it. Ultimately, the subconscious is what is running in the background. Now, I know there's influencers, there's content creators who talk about the subconscious as being, especially even going back to Neville, the subconscious is the determining factor on what's manifested. Personally, although I may agree with it, it's from a different aspect because I think we have control over our subconscious. When we are conscious, we can decide what we believe in. We can decide what our assumptions are. We can decide what thoughts and feelings we want to identify with, what we give meaning to, which is ultimately going to influence our subconscious. So even if our subconscious is the determining factor, we now have the power to control what goes into the subconscious. So ultimately we are the determining factor. So we've talked about awareness. What about being conscious? So when we're conscious, we're awake. We're shutting off the automatic programming that runs daily. For most people, they may be conscious 1 minute of their day. And I'm probably being generous. When we look at being conscious, the first thing is, what am I thinking? Why do I feel this way? Why am I allowing myself? And what meaning am I giving this to feel this? So when we have thoughts, everyone has, anywhere from 45 to 70,000 thoughts a day. What do the thoughts mean? Why am I giving it that meaning? And why am I even identifying those thoughts with who I am? You don't have to, but when we're unconscious, all the thoughts, we think they're us, but they're not. If you want to look at it, thoughts are like clouds in the sky. If you were the sky and your mind is the sky, you're who you are, thoughts are just passing through. And we can take what we want and we can identify with it, or we can just allow them to pass. So when you're conscious and you're aware, now you get to choose what meaning you give anything. A thought came through. Okay, it's not who I am. Who are you? That's really the fundamental question. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. You are. And that's why in the Bible, before the world, I am. That's you. You are God experiencing you. And some say God experiencing God, but I like to say God experiencing, insert your name. And so that means you are the source. You are the operant power of your reality. Everything that is generated or created in the 3D, in the space, is projected from who you're being, is projected from thoughts, feelings, assumptions. When I say thoughts, thoughts we identify with, emotionally charged thoughts, our identity, who we think we are. What goes into that? Old story, prior programming, trauma that we experience from childhood or past relationships. All of these things go into who we think we are or identity. But in reality, it's just an avatar. When you can be conscious and aware, you can recognize that we're really all playing different roles, different parts. We have masks on for different people, for different roles, and none of them are unequivocally us. They are what we choose to take on in that moment. And so the most helpful thing for me was to recognize that throughout all this, throughout this journey, what was I identifying with and why? And did I desire to experience that going forward? Because I found myself over and over replaying the old story. There was this constant regurgitation, this constant on repeat, the same old story. And I kept reliving the same old story. No matter how much I tried to change it, no matter how much I tried to go in and make adjustments and call audibles, it always ended up the exact same way, and I couldn't figure out why. But it was because of what I was identifying with. When a thought, when an assumption, when a belief no longer serves you, let it go. There is nothing to do but release that. The moment you release it, the moment you let it go, we stop identifying with it. Wait a minute, I don't desire to be this anymore. And it's the same thing with healing and suffering. I think healing is vastly beneficial and suffering dramatically beneficial. But to what end? At what point? It's like, it's good, it's beneficial until it's not. And I think for me, recognizing what was that point, it was the point at which it showed me who I was being. Healing is great to show me who I'm being or who I desire to be. Suffering was good to show me who I was and who I don't desire to be. And so going through all of those things, I recognized what you hear over and over is that reality will always reflect who we're being. And so when we have a desire, in that moment, recognize that it is a version of you that the desire is pointing to. It is a version of you that is available to you right now, that you already are. It isn't about effort. It isn't about changing anything in the 3D. It's about letting go of everything you've been told, letting go of everything that you thought you were, that you've been told you were, whether it's not feeling good enough, not feeling loved, not feeling prioritized, not feeling cherished. Letting go of all of that. What is the feeling you desire to feel? I want to feel enough. I want to feel abundant. I want to feel loved. I want to feel cherished. Then give that to yourself now. The moment you give yourself that, the moment you give it to yourself is the moment reality begins to rearrange to align with who you are now being. So when we talk about state of consciousness, state of being, and I spoke about that earlier, when we talk about law of attraction, we often associate that with frequency, energy. When we talk about law of assumption, we associate that with who you're being. What do you assume to be true? When we talk about different religions, they say, when we look at the Bible, it says, ask anything in my name, believe that you have received it, and you shall have it. What it's all pointing to is the law of being. everything I mentioned is the law of being. Who you're being will determine if you feel you've received it. Who you're being will determine your frequency and your energy. Who you're being will determine your beliefs and assumptions. So instead of trying to stay in a state and fix everything, recognize that it's the state that is the problem. And I don't even want to call it a problem because that's an assumption. I would rather call it the state is just a condition. It's a current state we're in. So whether to you it's ideal or unideal, if it is unideal, then there's nothing to change in that state. Imagine in your mind, what would it be like? Who would I be in this moment? If SP was here today, madly in love, giving me everything I ever wanted, how would I feel? How would I react to things? What would I do throughout the day? How would I respond to people? How would I carry myself? If you were successful, if you had your dream job, how would you dress? How would you talk to people? How would you communicate? All of these things are indicative of who you're being. So the moment you recognize that, we can now be that version of us we desire to be. And then in that moment, without even realizing it or knowing it, we're experiencing exactly what it would be like to have those things. So then reality now gives us those things because that's who we're being. So it's a very simple process. The concept of it is very simple. What makes it challenging is letting go of the old story, is finding the faith to trust in the process, is finding the determination to keep going, to be persistent, to not give up when the thoughts come up tomorrow, when the 3D shows me something otherwise. The 3D, there's many coaches out there who say the 3D is instant, the 3D is delayed, the 3D is this. What does it matter? The 3D is a reflection. If it shows you something you're not, just allow it. I can tell you that who you're being is instant. That the manifestation of who you're being will always be instant because you will know it by how you feel, by the thoughts and assumptions, by the beliefs that come with that state of consciousness. So when the 3D shows you something unideal or other than your ideal version of yourself, allow it. That's not who I am. If I came up to you and said, called your name and your name's Mike and I called you Rick, it wouldn't even faze you. Oh, you're this, you're Rick. No, I'm not Rick, I'm Mike. We don't even associate with it. That's not me. That's not who I am. And we allow it to pass. So if you can start every day, get up, give yourself that feeling, catch a mood. I like to say that when Neville talked about feeling being the secret, what that really means is there's a sensation involved. It's like if I told you to imagine what it would be like to have your dream car. Let's say it's a Rolls Royce. When you get in, you sit in it, you feel opulent, you feel successful, you feel special, you feel like you've made it. You feel abundant. And there's so many things that are wrapped up in that. So it's not just an emotion, it's a sensation, it's a feeling. You can feel the steering wheel, the trim, everything about the interior is so elegant. Well, when I describe those things and your mind's picturing it, there's a feeling coming up. That's the sensation. So whatever it is you desire, give yourself the sensation. That's why when they say feeling, it's not necessarily equated to an emotion. Emotions will probably arise as you're feeling the sensation, but it's the sensation that Neville's talking about. It's that feeling of being, that feeling of embodying whatever it is you desire. Well, I don't want to go too long today, guys, but thanks for checking out the channel. Make sure to like and subscribe. hit the bell on the way out, and make sure I'll be posting probably once a week from here on out, maybe twice, and I'll throw in some lives in there. But thank you guys again. My name is Ryan, Reality by Design. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Later.